We are live. Big girls, what's going on? Welcome in to the BDGE Dynasty channel. My name is Adam, as you may know. If you're new to the channel, don't know, my name is Adam. Make sure you go down and hit that subscribe button if you're finding this useful and actionable. It's the late night tip, man. We are out here late. I got the kids down, right? The kids are down, and we are doing a live stream, ready to bring some content to you here. Gonna start doing this weekly again. I got a newborn here. For the last month, been putting the live streaming off, but we are ready for the season, ready to get to it. Let me know how everybody's doing and what you guys really want to yap about with your teams. I'm here to kind of give you some, like AMA type style things where you have a question, you want to talk about your team, your trades, this, that, and the other. Put it down in the comments. Let me know what you got. Also, as you saw in the thumbnail, kind of wanted to talk about this with some people. Curious how your teams are built and what you're thinking for this season. A lot of times I think like the transition from going to this mindset of looking at all these players that we talk about for so long during the offseason, in particular the young players and the rookies in particular, we get really like hyper focused on their dynasty value. And a lot of times, I for myself included, like in years past, you kind of size or think they're going to do really well as far as production. And a lot of times, not all the rookies in particular are going to really score well for your team. So I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think. Like, are there any rookies in this class that you think realistically are going to be like him, where they're going to be inside the top, let's call it 15, 12 at their position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver? Kind of curious to see what you guys think, and I'll get into the discussion from there. But let's see what we got, man. We got Boomstick Gaming. Boomstick Gaming, what's going on, man? How you doing? What's up, Sam Stone? I feel like I'm on the wrong channel. Corey, I agree. He said he doesn't watch content last week. Now he's South Harmon channel, BDGE channel, all of it. We got K-Bach in the building. What's up, K-Bach, man? How you been, buddy? I'm drafting now. Okay, what are you drafting? Is it a rookie draft, dynasty draft, redraft? What do we got? Talk to me. W Father. Yes, sir, man. Got to do it. Kamani Vidal from the Chargers, yes or no? I mean, so the Kamani Vidal one's interesting. I know Nick and I talked about this maybe like a month ago now or so. I think the thing with him, right, like I like Kamani Vidal. I liked him as a prospect even. But like day 3 pick and this offense, like how good is it really going to be in this new situation? And then is he going to just by default get all the work? And how meaningful is he going to be? So I think right now he's probably a little bit overpriced in Dynasty, if I'm being honest. That said, I mean, there's not really much in his way. Is J.K. Dobbins going to be able to stay healthy? Gus Edwards literally was just a touchdown machine, but didn't give you much else for production or what he did. So I don't think he's going to be a difference maker per se at the position. So to the question overall, like I think he'll have some weeks where he's solid, but I wouldn't even put it much past that, honestly, for what I'm truly expecting. All right, coming for the king, best not miss. All right, so what do we got here? Danny Dimes and Russ as my current starters in a Superflex 12-team league. Well, let's talk about the rest of your team, buddy, because that's not great. It's not great. I mean, I don't mind either one of those guys if you had them. Let's say one of those was your Superflex option. Like, even then, that's not the most ideal, but you could probably have a pretty good team and those be your Superflex option if you were, drafting the quarterback late and be fine. But that's not ideal. What's the rest of the squad look like? Tell us, ZDub445. Made some trades to see, and excited to see your opinion on them. Okay, Carlos, put them in, man. I'll give you my thoughts and feedback on it, man. No problem. All right. What's up, big dog? Adam Eating. What's up, Pello? What's going on, Pello? Outside shot with Keon Coleman being him. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the player a lot coming out. I like the way he plays the game, but his separation is still a little bit questionable. We'll see if he can do that at the next level. I think he has a lot of the traits, but like his rookie season, to be honest with you, I'm not I'm not getting over my skis as far as expecting him to do too much throughout the entire course of the year. I think the thing for him would be like, is he continuing to progress, and towards the end of the season, let's say this year, starting to like really get high percentage of snaps and a lot more target volume, where we can kind of project him going into sophomore year, second year, like to really take that step forward and being a difference maker. I would not be projecting him to be that out of the gates. Although, like, I'm not going to say it's not in the range of outcomes Buffalo has a lot of fucking targets that are gone, so definitely could be the case. Okay. Hold on. I'll get to this in a second. What up, man? 7 offensive keeper league. Okay. Not Dynasty, but will oblige. Would you rather have JT or Kenneth Walker and Joe Mixon? So this is where, okay, so 7 offensive keeper league. Does that mean you're keeping 7 players? Like, the thing about keeper leagues that I find is that the formats are just so wild and crazy and different. So, like, how many players are you starting overall would be my first question. And then, like, is it 1 quarterback Superflex? And does this mean you get to keep 7 people each year? I'll give you my answer, but just trying to make sure I have the context right before I just answer one of those sides. What do we got here? Braylon Allen or Michael Wilson Dynasty? Interesting. I think right now there's probably like a case to be made that Michael Wilson has more dynasty value per se. The way I typically build my teams in lineup leagues, which I think the majority of people are playing, I'd prefer to just have Braylon Allen, knowing that he's probably not going to be someone I'm relying on starting at all. But the opportunity, if anything happened to Breece, even if it was for a couple weeks, he would be somebody I'm basically auto starting probably if he actually is the number 2 clear cut and away behind Breece Hall, and that's the case. Like, I'd rather have Braylon Allen the way I roster construct my team, just because Michael Wilson to me, I'm not necessarily sold that he's going to be consistent for fantasy purposes, I guess. But I think there's more dynasty value probably on Michael Wilson at the moment. Dynasty all players in round 13. Okay. What pick are you? Give us you know what? If you're actually doing a draft right now, give us some context, man. Who have you taken? Like, what are some players that are in the range of you drafting here? I'll pull up some ADP just to give you some other names to keep in mind. But like, tell us about your team so far. Also have Kyron. Okay. I don't. Okay. This is the JT and Kenneth Walker and Mixon. Okay, gotcha. Let's see if you give me the rest of the context, I will answer that. Hey, so I traded Xavier Legette and Kendre Miller for TJ Hawkinson. Start 10, Superflex. Wanted to know your thoughts. That's an interesting one. So, like, Xavier Legette to me is somebody that he's polarizing. Like, a couple people that I do content with at South Harmon, they are very, very high on Xavier Legette. I'm kind of torn on it, and I kind of still need to be sold on Xavier Legette. That said, it's definitely him by a mile over Kendre, but you sent Kendre and Legette for TJ Hawkinson. I mean, here's the thing about TJ Hawkinson, right? I think this year I would not be banking on like any type of stable high-end production like we saw from him in the last couple years, but I kind of view it as this year is you're going to have to eat it year, because he's going to be coming off of that really late in the year multi-ligament knee injury. So, like, this season I kind of view as, I don't know, kind of like a waste, not necessarily like completely zero, but he's not going to be his same self until the following year. So I think actually in starting 10, I'd be okay with going for Hawkinson if you either like could afford to do this. It's a tough one. I think I'm taking TJ Hawkinson though. The tight end premium is probably going to be a big factor here as well, because like if the tight end premium's not that high, you may just not really care about the tight end position. But feels like TJ Hawkinson could end up being, even by next year, back to being a positional difference maker. And if Legette doesn't do something this year to kind of separate himself from the pack of all the Panthers receivers, it may not even matter on that side. Thoughts on Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. at 112, 201 for Dynasty start? Yeah, absolutely. Like with tiebreakers, especially in ranges where those guys both are in that type of range for like startups. So if it's near where their ADP is and you're not reaching over like crazy for either one of these players, I think stacking makes a ton of sense. So yeah, at the turn, absolutely. Go ahead and grab it. Go ahead and grab it. Jay, we live, baby. Yeah, what's up, Jay? What's going on? That's my guy right there. What's good to look for when trading away DK and Dynasty in a total rebuild? So as long as it's Superflex, I mean, if you can just liquidate for picks, that's what I'd be doing. Now, I'm it's one of those players where you got to give me at least a first here. I think a single first and a total rebuild is probably the way to go if you can. I mean, some people might be wanting more. I just don't think there's any way that anyone's paying that. So you might want to wait a little bit, Brandon, if you have him in a total rebuild. Like, he's not somebody that the clock's expiring on, right? He's not like to the age of Deebo Samuel or somewhere pushing the needle more as far as their age cliff in value. If an injury to him would really suck for you. That would be like the one way you could end up losing by holding. But I would probably hold a little bit, see what this offense looks like. It's supposed to be a lot more up-tempo with the change of coaching philosophy and stuff. So I think there's probably a case where what I would do is be looking for him coming off of a week where he has, a high amount of targets, probably one of those crazy long touchdowns, and then see if I can test the market then. Because you're probably going to have, just that recency bias. People get so crazy about stuff that happened a week or two ago. And then also when you start getting bye weeks into the season, people start getting desperate for stuff in their lineup, injuries as well. So that'd probably be what I would say to you. If you're not sending me at least a liquid first, I'm probably good. And you could try to tier down. I don't know what the format is. Like, if it's start 9, tiering down from DK is going to be tough because you're probably going to realistically get to a range of receiver where it's like dicey if they have much staying power. So that's what I would say, though. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have any follow-up questions too. Took Neighbors. Let's see here. Took Neighbors, who fell to the early 4th. League mates concerned about Daniel Jones throwing to him. Thoughts? I mean, there's no way that's not hot takey at all. Of course, that's absolutely the fucking concern. I think he's good enough to be able to overcome it to a degree, right? Like, I think he's extremely talented, and I think he's going to get force-fed the ball. But dude, he looks rough, and he's coming off of an injury where this is a guy that has, just for the NFL side, has been like a decent little scrambler. So if that is not something he's doing really well, if he has any type of like lack of trust in his, that injury still being 100%, plus he's not been that great as a passer in general. So yeah, it's absolutely a concern. But this is redraft, I'm assuming, Grant, right? Or is this in Dynasty he fell to the 4th? There's just no way. How many teams and what is this Superflex? It's got to be Superflex if he's going that far down. Is this a Dynasty league? 4th round? That's insane. Never seen him get. I've seen him in the early 3rd, but I've never seen him get to the 4th. Congrats on the baby game. Appreciate it, man. Let's see here. The Drake May hype train. I mean, yeah, you might have to wait a little bit, but it's Drake May is going to be interesting to see because people are either in or out on him. Like, it's funny how there's not really a lot of people that are kind of in the middle. Like, I could see it working out and not sure because of the situation in New England. It seems like people are very like bought in on the prospect and not leaving yet, not fucking leaving, or they're just they don't like some of the things about his mechanics and stuff. So I'm in on Drake May. I wish I had more shares, but I don't. Sadly, I don't have that many shares. That's in a Dynasty startup, Grant. How many teams in that league? That seems insane. 4th round. Wow. Let me know. Am I tripping? Like, have you guys seen outside of this league, Malik get like even to, I think like late 3rd is most I've seen in a league that I've either been in or like actually had the draft board up. But yeah, I mean, so I guess to the question, right? Like, okay, yes, I'm definitely concerned about Daniel Jones for this year. I'm not concerned like long term because I think they're gonna. Obviously, they may not get a great quarterback, but I don't think if Daniel Jones is terrible this year, he's not going to be the quarterback of their team for the future for a long time, although they paid him. So I'm not concerned long term, but to this point, right, early 4th, I'm taking him there, not even thinking twice, man. It's not even close. What's it? Oh, you already put that. Okay. I know we will all love Rome, but I'm curious if he can dominate or if he's going to have a JSN-like season. Well, yeah, I mean, that's definitely I think that's just the sentiment. I do want to say, like, to this point, right, it's very easy to kind of point to last year and look at a situation from last year and make the case of, the similarities. I mean, certainly it lines up. They had 2 pass catchers in Seattle. Once they brought in Keenan Allen in free agency, now they have 2 there. But, like, okay, Caleb Williams, I think right now, talent-wise, we've already started to see this in preseason. Dude's talented. I think the JSN corollary to Geno Smith doesn't fit there per se. And then I'll also say, like, JSN, to me, I was expecting him to go a lot higher, but the NFL ultimately spoke. He didn't go until the 20s. Rome, like, think about this with Chicago, right? They had this total cleanup, and they already were locking in Caleb. And think about the fact that Penix went, and then you had Bo Nix going. Chicago very easily could have listened to calls to trade out of that pick where they took Rome inside the top 10 and just basically didn't trade it, move it. They're like, nah, Rome is our guy. So the season correlation, I kind of get. I'll also say the level of investment they have into Rome is very different. And I think the offense, we don't know much about how it's going to end up looking, but Caleb Williams is way more talented than Geno. And I also think just inherently, like, Seattle was, they were middle of the road actually as far as pass volume goes, but I think the Chicago team also could have more opportunities for just the receiving room in general. I probably gets on the field more often early on than JSN did, but we'll see if the production matches. I think if anyone panics truly on Rome after his rookie season, he's probably going to be someone I'm buying in on, unless all of a sudden Rome is like, if Rome's playing all the snaps and literally looking terrible, doing nothing, we have a different conversation. But for right now, for what we know, I kind of expect, like, I think it's just baked in that he may not smash this season, but I think there's a very good chance by the end of the year, like who's to say, this concern is definitely there, but who's to say that Rome by the end of the year doesn't look like going to be the clear alpha in this offense overall? Like, I love DJ Moore too, nothing against him. Like, I think he could still be great on the other side, but what if Rome is just different than everybody else? Like, I think that's also in the range of outcomes to think about. Can I win? All right, I took Jeddah's first round and went 13 straight rookies in a startup. I mean, you crazy. You definitely crazy. I'll say it like this. So the productive struggle thing, one thing to keep in mind, especially Michael, if you've actually done this, because you crazy, but like the rookies, okay, so I just think about it. Let me pull up a Solid Harmon or an ADP spreadsheet here of kind of see what ADP looks like and talk to you through actual names. But basically, roughly around like 7, 8, 9, those rounds, there's probably some rookies with some decent draft capital. So for instance, this year, right, I'm looking at current ADP in a Superflex league. So Michael, I'm assuming this is Superflex. If it's not, let me know. That would probably even be crazier, to tell you the truth, if it wasn't. But in round 7, right, that's Trey Benson is in there. As far as rookies go, Keon Coleman and Brian Thomas is an early 7. So you get the 8th round, right? We got any rookies in round 8? Currently not any rookies in round 8. Round 9, you have Bo Nix, which I think that's going to start going up. Keep Trade Cut already has him at quarterback 20. Let me know what you guys think of the preseason stuff with Bo Nix, if you're buying, selling, moving him at all in your rankings, or how you feel about him. So you got Bo Nix. Is he really the only 9th round rookie as well? Damn. Yes, he is. So then you get to round 10, you got Penix, you got Xavier Legette, Blake Corum, Ricky Pearsall. Now, this class in general was deeper than most, but like once you start getting to now in the 11th round, early 11th, so he's 1101, Adonai, so he may or may not even be there in this type of a draft for you. But then you have Jalen Polk, Ben Sinnott. That's in around 11. Then you get to round 12. There's rookies like Jalen Wright, Marshawn Lloyd. Let's see, Troy Franklin. R.I.P. Andrew. Sorry about your boy. And then we got round 13. You get Jermaine Burton. So, like, you can definitely do it. And right now, those names all sound fine because this 24 class is deep enough to pull it off. I guess here's the thing. Like, go back and watch. I'm trying to remember the video. I'll put the link in afterwards in the comments. The video I talked about with, like, rookies and the production that they're going to mean for your team. Andrew did a video, like a 2-part video on this, and then I did a video on the Dynasty value side. Like, in general, there's a very good chance that a lot of the rookies don't become like super meaningful for you as far as production goes. So what I would say here is, like, I think the way to play it now, some of these rookies probably don't actually get any value bump at all. And I don't know really what you do. If you can try to sell at a certain point, if they're like a true face planner, go ahead. But I think in general, a lot of these guys are going to have little bursts of like dynasty value based on how they perform, even if it's just for a brief window in time. So I think like the play is probably to not keep all of them, because it's pretty highly unlikely that all the rookies that you're taking here, you're not going to get stuck with some bust. Now, you also probably will hit on some, but overall, I think what I'd be doing is trying to like kind of play the market essentially. If I see, like when Trey Benson gets the job from Connor, you're looking at probably a big time value bump. Like there you have to really make a decision if that's your guy or not. If Keon has, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks, in the middle of the season where there's a value ascension there, like his career could still be good, but you probably are in a better situation given this scenario where you have so much invested in all rookies to try to pivot out of some of them when you can. That's kind of the way I would think about it. Yeah, the Chubb jersey, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, unfortunately, the injury last year was devastating, and that's when I hung it up. So try not to make myself feel guilty, but I definitely feel like it was me. Was good, Chase. Okay. Can you talk about how? Can you talk about how you go about creating trades from scratch? You know what, Chris? Okay, I think you put this in one of the comments on the video. So I'm gonna do this on a video for you. I can talk about it right now if you prefer, but I want to do a whole video breakdown on that. I was going to do it this week, but, everyone's just getting crazy with trading draft picks and wanting to spend them like they're going out of style. So I had to do this week's video on like draft picks and making sure that you're being cautious about just spending draft picks willy-nilly because the season's here and they're not going to go in your lineup. I'll tell you what, though, next week I think I can probably pull this off. In the next week or two, I'll do a video on this, Chris, for you. All right. Good. It's a good question, and I actually have some things to discuss, at least for me, how I do that. So, how do you feel about McLaurin and Eckler's value now that the Skins have given up on Dotson? I mean, well, first of all, I love the energy. The all caps is just like, okay. I don't. So, Dotson's not a guy I believed in anyway, frankly. Like, I don't know how much it really moves it for me. I guess target volume could go up for either one or both. Eckler, I just don't know how much he's actually going to play and what kind of role that is and what the target volume looks like. I'm not going to – Eckler to me he's got to prove it in this situation with Jaden Daniels, who's probably going to be more of a running style quarterback before I believe in him. McLaurin, I think, might have a higher target, like a higher ceiling as far as targets go, but I still think this offense probably isn't going to be super pass heavy. So, honestly, I would say slight needle movement up for them, but I'm not going out and I think I moved both of them in my rankings that I was just going through right now, and I'll submit and finalize them at the end of the night tonight. But it's just not much movement. I haven't moved them into a different tier. I think maybe I moved them both up slightly, but just nothing crazy. Of course, man. Anytime. Happy to give it to you. All right. Oh, damn. We got a bunch of questions in here. Okay, 12-team, Superflex start 10, PPR lineup, 25 early first, 25 mid-second, or Tyreek. So a 25, an early 25 first, and a mid-second, or Tyreek. Trying to complete my wide receivers are Lamb, Marvin Harrison, London, Nico, Reed, JSN, and Addison. Okay, so start 10, you should have 3 receivers and 2 flexes, or it'd be vice versa, 3 flexes. So you can start up to 5, right? So Lamb, Marvin Harrison, London, Nico. So Reed would be the bump right now. If your team's super win now, here's the thing though. When people say early, I think I'll just distinguish this. When you say early, are you is this team absolutely locked into a top 3 pick? If that's the case, I mean, that already's enough. In my mind, that's already I'm paying you Tyreek Hill pricing. Oh, the question also is this person in a rebuild? Because typically Tyreek Hill is someone that just doesn't get moved unless you're not competing at all, because the age and production, that he has, but the dynasty value because of that age, he's a harder player to move for value. I think you could do this, but that's a pretty damn heavy if it's truly a locked in top 3, number 1 or number 2 overall pick, because you're basically getting to reset on the premier. To me, Luther Burden, Tet McMillan in this class coming up are studs and are going to have tremendous dynasty value out of the gates. So I get it. I'm not saying the mid-second makes it all of a sudden egregious, but if it's truly a top 3 pick, that's just something that I think for me, the way I play and like looking at this team, I'm not saying Tyreek doesn't make it a juggernaut, but I know that type of pick I can kind of, especially if it's not your own with this team, right? Like I can kind of basically at the right time get someone to overpay to have the pick going their way. So that'd be my own hesitation. But you put Tyreek with this team, and it's freaking ridiculous. So I definitely get it, and I would not hate it if you could do it. It's just if it's a truly top 3 pick, man, that's a heavy pick value in my estimation. Outside of Caleb and Marv, I feel the majority of the class, dynamic as they will finish 15 and under. No R. Kelly. Dang, that's crazy, Jay. Jay always, he'll surprise you with some of the shit he says. All right. What up, big girl? Scroll. I'm trying to find. Okay, here we go. So here, starting 7. So you're starting 7 players. Okay, so it's a shallow league. 1 quarterback, full PPR, also IDPs. So you're starting 7 offensive players. Got it. Currently, you got JT, Kyron, Walker, and Mixon, Adams, Puka, Marvin Harrison. I want to trade JT for straight up for TJ Watt. Well, hold on. Wasn't your question before? Let me just make sure. I thought your question before was that you wanted to move him for you wanted to tier him down. Was it not? Yeah. JT or Kenneth Walker and Joe Mixon. I mean, in this format, starting 7 players, honestly, I'd rather have JT in that format. If we're starting 9 or 10 offensive players, then I might be more considering of the other side. But in a keeper league like this, I want JT. I think here now TJ Watt. I don't the IDP thing. Like I play in I think it's 2. For sure 1. I might play in 2. I'm trying to remember. But the IDP leagues in general, like most of the times, the scoring for the defensive players just isn't really relevant to make it. It just is cool or sounds cool that you have defensive players in the roster. Like Mike at South Harmon, we're in a league where he juiced the crap out of the scoring for defensive players. So like edge rushers, if they get a couple sacks, 2-3 sacks, all of a sudden could be scoring like 40, 50, 60 points on certain days. That type of thing makes sense. So I don't know what the scoring is, and if like TJ Watt is actually like a positional difference maker in this format too. So if it is, and you would know that, I'm not going to have any idea. If that's the case, I could see trading for TJ Watt there. Otherwise, I mean, JT on the tier down question. Okay, what's a realistic trade for trading away neighbors? This is for a Dynasty League. Well, it's a good question, and I think the reality is like, if you're asking this question right now, right, it probably means your league mates aren't like chomping at the bit with offers that you feel are solid. The interesting part with him, though, is based on the question that was up earlier, is he going to actually produce early and often? I mean, I think he could be pretty damn solid. I think he might surprise people, but like him being like a absolute stud in fantasy, I think he's talented enough to do it, but it's just a lot to overcome. So I guess what I'm saying here overall is there's a chance that all this euphoria and dynasty value around Malik Neighbors, like to me, here's the way I look at Neighbors, right? He's like Drake London and Garrett Wilson, somewhere in the middle of that or on the higher end of that, realistically from a dynasty value perspective, because we're going to bake in and give excuses to this offense. So even if he doesn't perform, as long as he's checking adequate boxes as far as production, like he's going to get that first and second year pass. But the way I also see it is if he smashes, like if he smashes in that situation, like dude, he's going to be in the wide receiver 1 overall discussion. I'm just telling you, it's going to happen. Now, I don't know if that is going to come to fruition. I don't know if he's capable of doing that in that offense in general. If he's not, though, the one thing is, while his dynasty value will remain high during this part of the year, like you're basically going into the point where his value could be whatever. Keep Trade Cut might show that people could say he's super valuable in dynasty, but no one's actively trading for him as a contender, right? They're going to pass on that, and the people that are going to be trying to buy him are rebuilding teams, and do they even have a piece that makes sense to pivot to them? So I think, like in a way, the answer is probably at this point we're getting to the point of like you probably need to get, if you were adamantly trying to make a trade happen, you probably need to have already done it or do it soon, because when the scoring happens, if he's coming off, no one will be shocked if he has very little touchdown upside and a bunch of like inefficient targets in this offense. And if he's not scoring meaningful fantasy points, his dynasty value will be fine, but he just might not be someone people are eager to trade for. A realistic trade right now, like I guess if you're doing this, you're also trying to compete, right? So I guess Tristan, like, give me the idea of what you need in your team or why you're trying to trade away Neighbors. It's obviously, I would imagine, because you're fearful of the situation in production, you're trying to get that into your team. So, like, I mean, if that's the case, so if you're like trying to go for just high-end production, like what are you trying to angle for? There's probably a lot of ways to like skin the cat, so to speak, where you figure out how to angle for a trade. If I want just like win now production, and I'm kind of willing to forgo age completely, like a guy like Tyreek Hill, I don't know if you can do it 1-for-1 right now because everyone's going to get focused on scoring points, but like, can I get to Tyreek Hill? If I'm moving off of him, though, I don't want to go down the board to where, like, you know, I'm getting to the DJ Moore range or whatever. Like, I'm not trying to do that realistically because I think Malik Neighbors is too special of a talent to give up that way. So, yeah, I guess what give me I'll give you some realistic trade things, the options to go try to seek, but give me an idea of what you're really looking for in a trade. Okay, rebuild, looking to compete next year. Dynasty Superflex, traded away Jaden Daniels for JJ McCarthy and T. Higgins. Thoughts? Already have Dak, Stafford, and Darnold. What's the settings here, Aaron? I mean, I'll be honest, just off the rip, like, I get it. But like JJ McCarthy being hurt this year, with his current, like, not having a ton of he hasn't really shown much in college. Like, Daniels to me is in this tier of, in my personal opinion, should be closer to like the Marv and the Caleb. I'm not saying he should be worth that. I think he's definitely the 3, but I think there's a big drop off to JJ already, and then with him being injured and out for the whole season, like that's I'm not loving that part. So then T. Higgins is one of these guys that feels like just doesn't make me feel the warm and fuzzies about this shit. So what's the settings here? Like, how many players are you starting? Because, like, for example, this is lineup start 9. I'm good. I'd rather have the Jaden Daniels side. Because, like, I guess I think you're trying to do this because you have Darnold and you just want to secure the Vikings room. But, like, I would have rather kept Dak, Daniels, and Stafford. I just feel like T. Higgins as the piece that you're getting here I just don't love that part. Although I get it. It's not like a bad value trade. It's just not probably the way I would have tried to go about it. So let me know what the settings are, Aaron, because that could change a lot. Let's see what we got here. Appreciate the question, though. Keep them coming. Let's see. I'm always looking to trade away the 102 in my Dynasty redraft. Who's a viable running back to target? All right, I'm confused a little by the Dynasty redraft, but you're looking to trade away the 102. I'll be honest, Aaron, like, maybe it's me. It's probably me. I'm not really sure what this question. I'm not really sure what you're asking. Could you try to reword it? I really don't know how to answer this one. Maybe I'm just. I don't even think maybe I am an idiot. But picked up an Orphan Dynasty team that has CMC, ETN, Pacheco. Would you move all 3 or hold some of them? All wide receivers suck. Well, that sounds like an Orphan team, right? Team that has some production and some players that are, you know, more highly valued on the running back side, and your wide receivers suck. I mean, if that's the case, right? Like, if your wide receivers truly suck, you're going to need these running backs to go off, all 3 of them. Not that they couldn't, and stay healthy to have any type of a chance. So I think probably in this, you're asking, would you move all 3 because you're needing to kind of retool and rebuild this thing? I mean, in that scenario, what's the point of holding, really, any of these guys? ETN, I've already put in a couple videos now. He's a guy I'm absolutely selling in this scenario. I'm already selling ETN if I can pivot for what I can get on a contender, just because I think his dynasty value is pretty damn high. He's inside the top 50 still on keep trade cut and like just in dynasty values overall. CMC's, if you're on a rebuild, like, what's the point of keeping him? Even if he does great, all that does is help you score points and maybe not get closer to a better pick. Pacheco is maybe one I think that you might want to like hold for a value bump, or if he ends up getting, like, I talked about this in one of the videos I'd done on here too, where Pacheco towards the later part of the year when McKinnon was out was getting like true 3-down usage. So if he comes out of the gates and is getting true 3-down usage and 70-80% of snaps and the target volume he was getting, he might be the one that you could actually see like some value ascension and then move on. But all 3 of these guys, if you hold some, right, like what's the angle or what's the point? Because the biggest risk for this position is every single week that these guys are on the field, that position just by nature has a lot of attrition. So you're trying to squeeze a little more juice out of the lemon for any one of these guys, and you're hoping to get it later. I understand it, but what happens if you get stuck holding the bag and one of these guys gets like a out for the season injury? I mean, CMC, if he had that happen, catastrophic to his dynasty value, because people start talking about his old injuries again. I'm moving all three if I can. If you can get market value for him, great. But like most people just don't move first plus for running backs anymore. So the only reason I would be holding is if like my league mates are absolutely being outrageously cheap, and it makes no sense at all for you to take on like just a single second, let's call it, for one of these players. I'm probably willing to take 80%, 90% on the dollar just to get liquidity and kind of get this rebuild started. I don't want to have one of these guys get hurt and get stuck with that. Okay, got questions coming in. Referring to the DK trade with the total rebuild, I have 425 first and a 26 first. Start 9 Superflex. It was an Orphan team that I took over. I did get an offer of Kyle Pitts for my DK thoughts. Brandon, what's the tight end premium? I would say probably in a total rebuild. Like, I mean, I get it. I was on the Pitts train for a while, but this truly, that type of a trade for Pitts, he's going to have to be the difference like the premier tight end in fantasy moving forward. Like, it's going to have to happen where he's back. And I'm not saying that can't be the case, but even then, if that does come to fruition, which could, is the tight end premium in this league even matter? Like that ultimately for this question for me is where I would go. If the tight end premium, for example, if it's a 1.5 per catch and it's PPR, full PPR for the other positions, I'm holding DK. I think there, honestly. Call me crazy, but I just don't think the position of tight end matters enough to do that. I would only sell Neighbors if I was confident he's a bum like QJ, but in that case, why'd you draft? I don't have high expectations for this year, but I wouldn't be surprised to see. Yeah, I get you. 100% Drake. I get you. I think that's the thing with Neighbors. Like, if you didn't sell in the off season, you probably did really like the talent. You wanted to keep him, and now it's like you're worried about the situation and you want to pivot to production. So for me, I just don't think that's the timing of it. Probably isn't the way that you're going to get the most value. Now, if you have some Neighbors truthers out there and they were sniffing around and you weren't willing to trade before, I can understand it. But I'm way too in on Neighbors, like talent profile and the Draft Capital Association. Like, think about the Giants. They have Daniel Jones coming off the injury. Now, granted, they paid him, so there's that. But like, they had so much they needed on this team. They drafted a receiver knowing their quarterback situation that high when all those quarterbacks were going in this class. So to me, that speaks a lot to how much they believe in Neighbors. And if you saw Hard Knocks, they were saying, they were going to take Neighbors ahead of Marv if they had the opportunity to, if they were both there. 2 rough years, then an explosion with a relevant quarterback. Yeah, I could see that for sure. All right, let's see. Took over a keeper league team. Got to pick between being able to keep Brees for the next 3 years, but I lose my 4th, or Amon-Ra the next 2 years, but lose my 5th. A half PPR league. I'll just say off the rip, half PPR. Like, it's closer. Amon-Ra, if it's with full PPR, I would have probably just said go ahead and do that. Half PPR, though, you start leaning the running backs in this format, and it's a 1 quarterback. I see 1 flex, so that's not a super flex. I'm taking Brees here, I think, man. You get him for I'm taking Brees. I think Brees. This is you could go either way, but the nod, I would give the nod to Brees in the format of half PPR. Let's see. Thoughts on Jalen Polk? I like Jalen Polk's talent. I do. I'm kind of worried about the entire situation if he's actually going to be able to. For fantasy, let's say, right? Like, I think he's going to be a solid receiver, but is he going to continue to gain rapport with, hopefully when Drake May is taking over, where like he's not just a really cool, fun player to watch, and he actually becomes inside of the top, 24, 20 type receivers for production goes. Like my only concern with him is does that ceiling with him exist for fantasy purposes? But I think he's really talented. I'm not saying it doesn't, but he's right in that range where for his current dynasty value, I'm a little iffy on if it's warranted. But I like the player quite a bit. Yeah, my team is a 12-team Superflex. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I think I said what I needed to on that, Michael. I don't know if you have any follow-up questions, let me know. But I'm probably looking to move a lot of those rookies, or at least I don't want to have the entire class probably 2 years from now, because over time there's going to be a lot of misses, and you'll get stuck with those. Let's see. All right. Trade Hurts plus Corum for Kyler and a 25 and 26 playoff first. Seems like good value, but with Caleb and Daniels also at quarterback and having 10 first through 27 makes me question if I need to do it in a shallow. Okay, so the way I'm looking at this, right? Like tearing down from Hurts to Kyler, I don't mind at all. So let's call it Hurts for Kyler and a 25 first. Even a playoff first. Okay. I think that's fine. In a shallow one, I get it. The 26 first for Corum, like a single first for Corum is an easy smash. Like I like Corum. I think he could end up eating more into the workload of Kyron than a lot of people think. I mean, I think there's a lot of different views on this, but there's not a guarantee that Corum is even going to do that, let alone that he's going to ever take the job from Kyron ever at all. So a first, even if a playoff first, and I don't care if it's out in 26, that's a win for that side. I think this is fine. And the other thing about having 10 first through 27, I'm not at all afraid of that. There was some leagues that I did rebuilds on where I got the entire 23 class first round picks, all 12. Like the way you got to play that though is you don't want to draft all of those players. So, but it also gives you leverage. Like if you have that many first, if you continue to add to that arsenal, while these could seem like playoff first, like if you have over half of them, or certainly once you get to half of the first in a single class or in that range, like you're just increasing your odds of one of these teams that we don't know how variance is going to play actually is they kind of disappoint. So all of a sudden that playoff first, right, that you're getting here to add to that arsenal of draft picks, this could end up being the one that gets early, or as now all of a sudden that team is going to miss the playoffs and doesn't have the first. And that's where having a true draft pick horde, because they are limited. There's only 12 in the league or 10 in the league, however many league mates you have. Having that type of quantity of them, you basically have leverage over automatically, a certain number of people that don't have a future pick and are out of the playoff mix. And I think that's where you can kind of make some pretty really nice trades if you time it right. So I have no problem doing this, honestly. Kyler to Hurts is definitely, I would prefer Hurts 1-to-1, but if you gave me a playoff first and Kyler for Hurts in the start 9, I mean, maybe you could try to squeeze a little more, but I'm already thinking about it. And to me, the first for Corum makes up for that, even if you were feeling that way. I'm on Fantasy Calc, looking at drafts over the last week, 12-team, full PPR. Nix is going at 111 ahead of Brian Thomas Jr. You're taking Nix or Brian Thomas Jr.? It's a good question. So, I've kind of gone back and forth on this one with just the quarterback situations. I think Penix for me, I still personally would rather have Penix than Nix. A lot of different reasons for why, but this I think in general, probably comes down to the way I would be looking at it is my specific league settings, and I'd be looking at personally Warp on this in your league and seeing to me, Bo Nix, while I definitely think he's a guy that could end up being a very valuable quarterback, and as a starter in Superflex, you already have an inherent value. But I still don't know even if he's. Let's say Bo Nix is better than we expect, or a lot of people expect. Does he have a true ceiling to be a difference maker? Quarterback 12, right? A back end quarterback 1, let's call it, or high end quarterback 2. If that's let's say his ceiling, that's where I would be looking at Warp. And does that even matter in this league versus Brian Thomas Jr.? Now, I think more often than not, if the quarterbacks are meaningful in Superflex, which that's how it typically goes, I'd probably be leaning Knicks right now because of the quarterback scarcity. And Brian Thomas Jr. is one of these guys where I love the profile. I think he's incredibly athletic and could be awesome with Trevor Lawrence. But there's a scenario for sure where this time next year, Brian Thomas Jr. has disappointed, unfortunately. So I think I would be leaning Knicks in the majority of formats, but it's going to come down to how my league settings and scoring is, and honestly looking at Warp on that league. I could make the case for either one. My generic rankings, I think, are going to be reflective. At least they were. I'm going to have to probably toy with this a little bit. Knicks' value is going up. I probably still will have like Brian Thomas Jr. because most formats actually the Warp is going to be really nice for receivers that have the upside of him. But I think there's more to be. There's a lot more on the risk side for Brian Thomas Jr. in my personal estimation than sometimes people give it credit for. Like he to me is not in the group of those clear and away top 3 in the class. So it's close. Talk to me about Ladd. Well, Ladd's interesting. I mean, so right now I'm looking at this startup ADP. Let me give you the ADP for Ladd McConkey. I'm kind of curious to see where it is myself. So I have him going. Where is he? Is he gone up? Looking here. Can't find his ass. Ladd, where are you? 6'10". So he's coming off the 6'10", wide receiver 28. Right in the range of, he's going right after Devontae Adams, right ahead of Mike Evans, Brian Thomas, which that's kind of crazy. Let's see what Keep Trade Cut has to say. So they have him. Ladd McConkey he's the wide receiver 31 on Keep Trade Cut. And he's going after Worthy, after Nix, after McCarthy, which that probably could. McCarthy's all the way down at 12 now after the injury, and then Ladd at 13. Like I would not be taking Ladd McConkey ahead of Penix. I think Ladd's a nice prospect, a solid one, but I don't know that in the low passing volume offense, even if let's say he ends up being the like true alpha for now. I just think, I even still think in this class, if he's a late first, early second, I'm not saying he can't return value, but I just don't know that it's warranted for him. Like, I really do like the prospect, but not to the degree of, like, quarterbacks in Superflex, frankly. Like, Penix, McCarthy, Nix, I don't think he's not in that tier for me, personally, for those guys. So that's my hesitation overall with him. Like, once you get to the receiver range of, I'd say Worthy and Thomas by just market value should be ahead. But then once you get to the range of like Ladd, Keon, there's ranges of outcomes where as long as they end up producing, they check boxes, like they get a little more production than JSN did. So you 700, 800 yards, they're going to be highly desired dynasty assets. But if they don't hit that, the floor could fall on these guys pretty far. My guys out here grinding all hours of the day and night. Well, that is true, but listen, man, right now we're doing the late night tip deal because of really having the opportunity only to do this with my kids asleep. During the day, man, it's a shit show over here. All right, Brees or Amon-Ra in half PPR. I'm pretty sure I was answering that in that keeper format question. Half PPR in a lot of just a generic half PPR league with no extra scoring settings in Warp with like 9 or 10 starters. I've looked at enough of those. The running back is the position you want, and it is more valuable if you get like the running back 1, 2, or 3 typically than the receiver. So that I think I would go Brees personally. If it's not half PPR though, I definitely would take Amon-Ra. Got offered DK in a second. Got offered DK in the second overall pick for Tyreek in Dynasty. I won last season and want to compete, but I think this is good value. I mean, the way I think about that, like Hayden is great value. Like the second overall pick. So is that this class though? Like, are you talking about the 102 in 2024? You haven't had your rookie class draft yet? If that's the case, that's a smash, dude. That's ridiculous smash. Even in one quarterback, that's freaking Malik Neighbors. So, or are you talking about 2025? Even then, that's a pretty damn good offer. Let me know. Have you not had your rookie draft? If that's a 102 in this class, that's absolutely ridiculous. That's insane. The reason I was going to ask is if it's 25. How do you know it's the number 2 pick? Okay. Can't believe we passed on Olave. Traded back and acquired Dotson only to move him. Poor shit. Well, they're trying to clean up the mess of Washington, but It's going to take a lot of time. A lot of time. All right, so I'm 100% invested in Polk and Roman Wilson, both dogs. What was the offer you guys have for Warp memberships, and how long do we have to sign up? Appreciate you guys for sure. So actually, yeah, right now, I normally don't want to pump like South Harmon stuff too much on here, but since you brought it up, right now we are having a 50% off. Like, we basically never really even discounted Warp at all. If you get the yearly version, so right now you can pay, it's like $6.90 a month if you get Warp. For the year, you get a little discount. It'd be $69 a year. But right now that yearly is half off. So it's only $34.50, I believe it is, for an entire year's worth of Warp. So, and Koopa's always adding new stuff and making upgrades to the Warp tool. It's kind of impressive, and it's really, really useful. I honestly, personally, can't recommend it enough. I use it all the time. So I can tell you this much for damn sure, that you're not going to find a better offer on our Warp tool than what's currently out there right now. And I don't know how long we're running it, but I know for sure, like through the weekend, we're having 50% off. Okay, so Scotty, what is the rest of your roster looking like? Yeah, Scotty, what is the rest of your roster looking like? Okay, in Dynasty, took Jay Burrow, JT, took every bench shot on Ladd, AD, Roman Wilson, Jermaine Burton, and Jalen Polk. Little regret now, even though I'm confident. Wait, you got a little regret even though you're confident? Too much risk? I mean, no, I don't think so. It ultimately depends on where you drafted them. Here's what I'll say about them, right? Like, I can't see the future, which one of these guys it'll be, but just inherently by like odds, one or two of these guys won't really fire much at all throughout the year. So you kind of have just like a dynasty value that is going down, and with no production in season, you might not have a lot of buyers or attractors for those players. But any one of these players, the risk and reward is just, it kind of goes hand in hand. But the biggest thing that I think about is essentially like with, how do I want to put this? With these guys, like when they hit, any one of those players hit, they're going to go catastrophically up in the air. Like they're going to go crazy. People look at a rookie doing well, like if let's say they even have 1 week inside the top 12 or two weeks inside the top 15 where they're showing and flashing upside, you're going to get tremendous value coming into those players. So I'm personally, man, fine with this. I think you just have to kind of know that. And if you see pockets of like, their value going up and peaking, even if it goes past that, I think when you have this much, the way I kind of play it is I'm going to try to sell some of these guys when their value is going up. Ultimately, they may end up being him at some point, and maybe you'll lose out. But what you don't want to do is end up missing out on that value bump, and they don't turn into a production. They don't turn into someone that produces at all. Andrew did a pretty good job doing this on the production side. Most of these guys are basically all second-round picks. Ladd might be a first-rounder, but most second-round picks don't actually give you any near production. So, like, bet-wise, having all 5 of them long-term, I would try to avoid. Okay, so what do we got here? 12-team Superflex. I traded Herbert and my 25 first. Wait a minute. Traded Herbert and my 25 first for Herbert. What you think? Can't be right. I hope not anyway. Got 4D'd if so. Come on, Chris. Give it to me again with the correct stuff. Come on, Christopher. I know it's late, damn it, but come on. JJ and Daniels question. Start 11. Only other start-worthy wide receiver was Olave. It was an Orphan team. All right, I think I'm just not even pulling actual questions at this point. Do you like J.J. McCarthy at his current ADP of late 7th round? Yeah, I think I do. I'm trying to think. I was just thinking right now realistically about other quarterbacks that are healthy that I might be drafting there. But like as I'm looking, right? I mean, the ones that if you take McCarthy there, that makes sense. But like after that, like the guys that you can realistically get that aren't McCarthy are, if you wanted production, obviously you're not doing this. But so like, Matthew Stafford, Watson, Cousins, a lot of those guys are dynasty values that are just, it's all production that's baked into them. Watson is kind of an interesting case, but he's looked so bad at times. He's been so inconsistent. If he's rough again this year, as well as being injury riddled, like I don't even know what to make of him. I'm a Browns fan. I'm too biased, so don't ask me about him in particular. I think I do though. Yes. If you can, the thing about that is though, sinking a 7th round pick into this in the startup, you already are kind of like having to make up for it by either hitting other picks and acknowledging that you're going to like hold JJ McCarthy for a year probably, because he's not going to be worth drafting and trading until he's back on the field. So if you're a team that you're kind of like in a productive struggle or you're 1 year retool, especially makes sense. But if you're trying to compete, you just got to keep in mind like that's I think it's good value. I do like it, but you got to try to find a way to build your team, the rest of your team, around sinking a 7th round pick into a guy that won't play the entire season. Traded Neighbors for BTJ and 225 first. I mean, that's one of those in a format dependent, right? So let's say when I mean format dependent by this is like if it's a lineup start 9 and there's a good chance those are late, like I could see someone being like, I want more. But dude, you get this is crazy. Like let's call him mid first in this class and Brian Thomas Jr. That's a hard offer to pass up personally. So I think just the first and Brian Thomas Jr. that's a lot of value to pass up on. So I definitely get it. I think I would even probably, if someone sent that to me in most of my leagues, I'm probably taking those 2 first and BTJ every time. That's just crazy. 2 first. Can Ladd be the wide receiver 3 this year in PPR? No, sorry. Oh, can he be a wide receiver 3? Yeah, he probably could. I'm like, wait a minute. I read that as the. I'm like, come on, man. Come on, Sion. Let me tell you the real. Can he be a wide receiver 3? Like, can he be a top 36? Yeah, he can. I think that's like a reasonable goal or a reasonable like place to put him. Here's the way I think about it though. Like, that's not very meaningful. Like, right? Let's say he is and can be. Wide receiver 35 really is not doing shit for you in your leagues. Just, I'm sorry to tell you, but he's not. So, like, that would probably be a benchmark for him to hit. That means, like, we're liking what he can become, the trajectory that he's on. But I think that's what I'm talking about in general with the rookies, that a lot of times because we're putting all this associated dynasty value into those players, like, we think that all of a sudden when the season comes around, oh, well, Ladd's going to be, definitely part of my starting lineup. I mean, he could be, but like, do you really want him to be that? If we're asking, can he be a wide receiver 3? Like, and I think he can. I think he still probably needs some things to break right for that to happen, but I definitely think it's in the range of outcomes easy. That's not even super lofty. 12-team Superflex. I traded. Oh, you. That was me pulling that question up again. All right, my bad, Chris. If you're still here, you meant hey Rich, laughing my ass off. All right, here we go. I was looking. Herbert and a 25 first for a Rich. Damn it. So what's crazy about this is like I don't know if I'm responsible for this because I've been the first video I made on BDGE, we had to it was worst picks in each round of an ADP, and I said at that time Herbert was going in the first round. I'm worried about him. Called a lot of the stuff. I actually got right that time. I missed tons of shit. So that was one of my W takes, and his value's gone down since. But like, did you trade away A Rich for a 25 first and Herbert, or did you get A Rich? So your starting roster is Kyler, Marv, Pickens, because like I love A Rich, I really do, but it feels tough to go from a first. Like you're basically losing a first to get the A Rich upside. Man, I think starting 9. Jeez, that's tough. It's tough because I really love A Rich, and I think the upside that he possesses. You can go back and watch the video on that. I'll put a couple videos in the comments for you to check out based on the questions I was answering here. Like, I think he has truly, like, I don't know if he'll hit it. He definitely has some risks because of the injuries and his style of play. But if he hits, I think he has the highest ceiling in fantasy football. Honestly, the athlete he is ridiculous for what he could do Konami code wise. So I get it. But Herbert and a first feels like a pretty hefty price tag to pay. So that would even make me think, and I'm not really super in on Herbert, but I think there's kind of a point of like we've gone too far cooling on Herbert. Okay, we got to this already. Let's see. 225 mid first for Laporta and Jacoby Myers. Give me the first. Hot take. I know people are gonna be mad. That's why I kind of. I know that's gonna be hot takey for some people, but give me the first. Jacoby Myers isn't worth the first at all, any format. So a mid first for Laporta straight up. The way I play in like most leagues that I think the tight end premium doesn't warrant supreme value going there. You could test me if you want to. I think I've already moved a lot of my Laporta shares, unfortunately. I'd probably be considering a mid first already for Laporta, but I can definitely understand the market value of him, like wanting more. First for Myers, I'm sold. I'm in. Give me the first. What are some tear downs for ETN? Good question. Actually, Caleb, what's up, man? Good question. I did a video talking about this. You'd be surprised. So now this is trades that actually got done. I'm not saying that this is realistic in every one of the leagues, but like there were some trades I pulled a couple weeks ago talking about ETN, and someone sent a first and A chain, which I mean that's just what are we doing? But one of the ones I saw a lot was a first and Zamir White. Like to me, if you're getting a first for ETN already, like I'm pocketing value that's close to what his current dynasty value is, and that's already a bet. Like if it's a middling first that I'm wanting to make. So like in a true tear down sense, if I'm actually getting a first round pick, like the way I view it is basically that the running back that I'm getting back, even if it's Zamir White, who I'm not really. We have seen so freaking little of Zamir White, man. Like I'm kind of a little bit amazed at his dynasty value. Not his redraft price, I get it. People are just like it's for 1 year, but his dynasty value still kind of surprises me a little bit. So I'm not really the keenest on his dynasty value. But if you're throwing him in the mix, like I'm basically able to replace with, we'll see what happens with Zamir White into my lineup and then pocket the first. So like those type of trades, I think in general, like if I'm actually doing a true tear down where I'm getting a liquid first, there's a lot of running backs I might take. Now, if you're not getting a first round pick on a tear down, that's where, like, let's say it's a second, right? I mean, I think that's, like, I don't know how many people will do all these trades, and every league is kind of different with how they value the position at running back and then, like, what they're willing to attach. But for I would do James Cook in a second, honestly, in most formats. I know maybe some people don't like that. Like, here's a crazy one. Like, I'm not the biggest Rachaad White guy. Currently on Q-Trade Cut, Rachaad White is running back 15 to Travis Etienne's running back 7. Like, you going to give me a second to go down to Rachaad White? Honestly, I would probably be willing to do that as well. I think there's quite a few targets. There's some running backs that just are a little, like, depressed. And honestly, they, like, depressed in dynasty value, but also could still return, like, decent production. So, like, I mean, I don't know if you get a true first, but like some people might be willing to send Swift in a first. Honestly, I think people right now with ETN in general, a lot of people view him kind of more in that like JT tier, where for me he's just not there. So I think those are some players to keep in mind. But if you're getting a first, man, I personally would like if you gave me a first in Najee, I'd take it. You gave me a first in Kamara, I'd take it. Like I would go very far down the list if I got a true middling first and a like actual starting running back that could have decent upside for their offense as well to kind of replace losing Sir Travis. All right, there was a good question. There was something I wanted to put in here. Where's my guy Tunchi? There he is. What up, Tunchi? But you can't call me Tunchi. If you know, you know. Keep Kyron or McBride. Both would be 10th round keepers. Tight end premium. What's the tight end premium, Alec? Alec, if the tight end premium is like substantial, like 2 points per, like if you're getting double the points per catch for the tight end position, I could get behind going down the Trey Gang route. But I'm not even the biggest Kyron guy, honestly, relative to most people. Like I still think he's good. I think he could be very good this year still. I just worry about the ceiling with his potential volume drop, but. Even there, like the only reason I brought all that up and I said that is because I still think I'm taking Kyron here in the large majority of formats personally. Okay. Yeah, he is getting hype, Big Red Machine. How am I feeling? I mean, I personally like kind of have always had him as my wide receiver 4. He's definitely been like I put Rome after the combine into tier 1 with the other 2 receivers, Marv and Malik. But I like kind of in the way I put it, there was no tier 2 now. Like Brian Thomas is down in tier 3, but he was kind of, to me, a little different than the rest. But I didn't want to like act like he was some special over the top talent relative to those other guys. So like I'm not surprised by the hype he's getting. I think his traits are all the traits, like that type of size and speed freak. I've been on record that if it hits, like people are gonna go crazy for Brian Thomas, and he's got a quarterback like Lawrence who could, being healthy, I mean, really, be a good quarterback for him. So I feel fine about it. I still think like right now, late first value, fine. I think if people are getting to buy too much into this hype though, conjecture season, and I had Brian Thomas, like if you want to sell me, if you all of a sudden want to give me a first and a second for Brian Thomas Jr., I'll cash out right now. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at. Look at my guy started from the bottom. Now we still at the bottom, man. Bottom of the sleeping depth chart, man. Sleep is at a tight end premium is what you say, but around here it's sleep is at a premium, man. It is few and far between. Question for you: start up 12-team half PPR dynasty draft this weekend. First dynasty league. Any key things to focus on a draft? Any late round steals? Okay, Schmick. Here's what I'll say. Right, first time dynasty. Like this kind of takes the fun out of it for people that are more seasoned, I'll call it, okay? Where you want to make a lot of moves in the startup if you can. It's really fun when you get into a dynasty startup and there's trades and like people are kind of making a bunch of trades and moves in the earlier parts of the draft. But like I personally at this point, like I could tell you all that I know till I'm blue in the face, but unless I'm right there beside you to kind of help you through all the different startup trade offers you could get and navigate through them, I'd probably stay away from making too many of those trades, because you just won't, as you play, it'll start to make more sense, I believe. But just in general, newer players, I think the biggest like unknown or the hardest thing to kind of wrap your head around in dynasty value is just like startup values versus rookie values. Like what are those, and then relative to the players and how to view them in dynasty. So I'd probably be staying away from trades. Key thing. So that'd be one key thing to focus on. Two, like, all right, I like to early on. I did a whole video on. It's actually called. It's been getting some crazy traction. It continues to get more and more views, but it's called. I think it's the perfect strategy for a dynasty startup. I would definitely watch that video. It's, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. But I talk about a lot of the strategy pieces of that. So in depth, I would definitely check that out. But like in the early parts of the startup, I like to stay flexible. Like I don't want to be someone that's drafting Christian McCaffrey in the second round, because if you start drafting age too soon, you might feel hamstrung to not now draft younger players that might not produce. Like you basically might start picking I'm going to continue to draft only guys that are maybe older and you feel confident in producing. Late round steals, I'm very much on the Noah Fant hype train, but the foot injury, we'll see. As long as that foot injury isn't serious, like I'm very much still in on the Noah Fant hype train. Like late round steals are one of these things where it's just truthfully, it's hard for me to like confidently tell you late round steals that I feel extremely confident about. Honestly, like outside the top 14 rounds, Noah Fant's probably the only one where I'm like, yeah, that's a guy I'm targeting for sure. Like I would not be leaving any dynasty startup personally without Noah Fant, but I know a lot of people aren't into him nearly at all. So, okay, top 5. Let's see. Hold on, where am I at here? What are your thoughts on Benson? Been offered Kamara. Sorry. All right. Been offered Kamara from him, but he'd be my running back 3-4. Not sure if I should play for the future or just go balls to the wall. So here's the thing, right? This is a long-term versus short-term play where, like, Kamara's dynasty value, like, I really do like him, and I talked about him kind of in depth too. You start realizing you do a ton of research and just probably put so much time in these videos. When all these, I can tell you I've done a video on them. But with Kamara, like, his usage in this offense, despite, like, changing and all that, he's been like the one consistent thing. Like he's constantly getting mid to high 60% of snaps. He's going to get a ton of pass catching work. And with Carr there, like he got a shit ton of catches last year. And honestly, I don't really project that to be any different. So like Kamara's value, even though he's 29, I think he'll be fine. And he still could be a very nice producer in this new offense. But like, Benson right now to me is a guy that like his dynasty value could trend downhill very quickly if James Conner stays healthy and he's not getting much touches. But I don't know that I would do this trade, honestly. Like, I still think I have them in different dynasty tiers, and I'm much more in on Kamara than most, but I don't think I really want to do that just yet for Trey Benson, because like you make this trade now, right? I'm just trying to think it out, Chase, on this one. Let's say you make this trade. You might feel great about it for a while. Week 5, week 7. What if week 10, James Conner like goes down? Like, knock on wood. We don't want that to happen, right? This is actually real wood, so knock on wood. But, dude, you imagine he goes down? Like, now Trey Benson could end up being like the league winner type in that offense, and while Kamara's production will be there, like, you're going to be sick. I just think it's too short-sighted, personally, for me to make this trade. I will admit, though, if Trey Benson may not see enough of the field all year and James Conner might hold him off all season, then you might be like, damn, I wish I would have traded for Kamara. But if Kamara gets any less usage, he gets hurt, he is a guy that's going to absolutely, like, crater dynasty value. Like think about Eckler, right? Think about Eckler right now. Where is Eckler at? Like, look, Nick Chubb and Eckler are good examples. So Nick Chubb is currently running back 39 dynasty value. He's not even anywhere near as old, but coming off that injury. Actually, he's 28 and a half. Where is Eckler? Damn, is that for real? No way. Where is Eckler, actually? Like, this is the point. Like, Eckler is... I'm trying to find him on here. But those guys lose significant dynasty value. You're talking outside, like, the top 30 pretty easy. So, I think I'd probably right now hold on this just because, like, the running back position in general, if I'm going to make a move for like Kamara, it has to be a pretty unique situation for me to want to do it right now versus I would much rather make this type of a move when my team is positioned, poised, ready to go. I know I'm a playoff team for sure, and then I know Kamara's still healthy. Then I'd rather do a move like that personally. Okay. I know it's a Dynasty channel. That's all right. You can ask me any question you want, Danielle. But I got sent an offer of Waddle and Mostert for Aaron Jones. What are your thoughts? I'm getting Waddle and Mostert. I don't have any thoughts. He's Waddle and Mostert. Hurry up. Hit accept before it's gone. Yeah. Take it, please. Take that offer. Really? You're going to get Waddle and Mostert? Who hates Miami, and who's excited about Sam Darnold being the starter all year? That's well done. Go ahead and smash that. Smash the like, smash the comment button. Let us know what you think of these. I'll keep these coming. I'm about to hop off here pretty soon. It's already, damn, I have a blast on these. It's already 11 o'clock. And I'm out here just yapping, talking to my damn self. Just playing. I know y'all are here. It's just crazy. If you didn't know I was recording, imagine coming down here in my basement. This dude just looks like he's talking to himself right now. Who's the true number 2 for the Commanders? That's the question we all want to know, but don't really know. That is true. I think that question is definitely what we want to know. My second follow-up question would be, now let's say that you did know. Let's say we have a pretend answer that we feel confident in. Now that we know, does it matter? Leaning towards the latter. Damn, that just rhymed too. Sorry, Fizzle. That's bars, man. Like I'm not convinced that it's nothing against Daniels. I feel like the offense, he could end up being great. I think Daniels could be great for fantasy. I just don't know if the offense is going to be high enough passing volume for the number 2 in this offense to like really feast. Because I think McLaurin will be good. I just don't know that his ceiling goes to the moon that we've been waiting for anyway. So I just don't know that there's enough in this offense for that number 2 to be anything more than just like a solid flex option, I guess is probably what I'm saying. My guy Fizzle, though. Yeah, man. I will say, though, like, especially we were at the expo. Fizzle and I were together in Canton, Ohio. If you ever want to come to that, unbelievable fun event. We do it big we do it as big as you could possibly do it in Canton, honestly. But watching him in that game, like, I'm excited to check in to a lot of Commanders games, which is honestly something I don't think I've said. It's been a long time since I've thought about that. Fizzle's from the area, so different for him. All right. I'll get a couple more questions here. I got a team review I got to do with my boy E. So how do you value picks when trading in Dynasty? Like what makes someone worth a mid-first or early second, for example? Okay, good question. Part of it's market. Part of it is like basically what is the realistic cost of these players. And then it's also like if I'm not getting that's if I'm going for mid-season type purchases and I'm trying to just win a title, right? At that point, like, and even for some of those, I'm probably willing to overpay what market says in draft pick value if I'm going to land the correct players or the players I think I need to attach to my team to go win a title. At the end of the day, losing a dynasty trade is always worth it if you win a dynasty title because of it. So the way I do it though is kind of just polling the market, and then I think where my personal most fun thing and where I differentiate from most people out there is like reading the room and seeing what type of players people are actively looking to get off of. Maybe you can kind of go across and see that I'm the only one that has a lot of these picks. So I'm like kind of leveraging picks against them because I know I have a bunch and not that many people are willing to trade them away or have them. So like a lot of it's market value. A lot of it's ultimately what your league mates are willing to do. But like if it's in season and for production, if I'm going to send a first round pick away for a player, the difference with that in a second is this for me. A first round pick, if I'm sending that away for a player, like this is a big error I think I've made in the past and I see it a lot. If I'm sending away a first round pick mid-season for a player, like it's not just for production. They have to have some type of value insulation so that I know that I'm not just going to blow this and it's totally gone next week if he gets hurt significantly, right? Or that could always kill dynasty value. You might still lose out anyway, but like some sort of value insulation to where like I don't want to just buy outside of rare scenarios a player that's 29, 30, 31, 32 that's like a downward trajectory asset unless we're talking like a Tyreek Hill of the world. Like you got to be that type of producer to not have value insulation attachment if I'm going to send a first away. That's the big difference. So the first, like I'm a lot more choosy with the player. I got to have a little bit of my cake and eat it too. Seconds, I still want to have, I'm still going to be selective, but I'm a lot less selective with my second round picks, I guess the way I would say it. All right, let's see. I'll give one last one here. All right, Tony Martin just happens to be the person I'm looking at. Okay, if I missed your question, I apologize. Put it down in the comments after this, and I will go through studio some point tomorrow and get to your questions. Anyone that I missed, y'all, because I appreciate every one of you guys tapping in today. I'm going to continue doing these on a weekly basis. Let me know down in the comments as well what you think of these, and if there's any like in particulars you want me to discuss in a future video or in a future like live stream. So, okay, 12 team. Okay, so we got 12 team start 10, Superflex, half PPR. I got Herbert, 25 mid-third for Stafford, Etienne, and D-Hop. Interesting. Okay, what's the context? Like 5 minutes ago, thoughts. I mean, it's too late to be talking about thoughts like this. That's for damn sure, Tony, first and foremost. Secondly, are you like what's your angle here on this one? Now, like I'll admit the staying power of Herbert versus freaking Stafford is wildly different. So I definitely understand it. D-Hop's injury, it sounds like he's going to end up being okay, but when you're 32 and you start having injuries early, they could end up doing often. And that a lot of times when the cliff happens, a lot of times it is the injuries and that's your body breaking down. So I'm a little worried about D-Hop now, unfortunately, because I was really in on D-Hop before that injury. Still am, but I'm just worried that he's going to be able to put together a fully healthy season. Etienne is a guy that could end up still being like a difference maker, or at least I can pivot into a difference maker. Stafford is a ticking time bomb probably on his dynasty value, but like it wouldn't shock me at all. And I would say if both Stafford and Herbert stay healthy for the full year, I would put my money on Stafford actually beating Herbert in points per game this year. So on the dynasty lens, the value is, especially in a 12-team start 10, like the Herberts of the world, Herberts of last year's value, you can't acquire them. So I definitely get it. I think I probably lean the Herbert side there. it really comes down to, though, do you have the necessary tools on your team still to have like a super valuable, all skill group. So I think Herbert's the play there. But losing ETN, and like, I don't really care about losing Hopkins. I also am not. I'm willing to trade ETN, but sometimes I'm a little more willing to, like, I'd rather look in a place where I basically can I get 2 more years out of Stafford and maybe get like a pivot into like a really solid wide receiver. But acquiring Herbert for that cheap, honestly, is pretty damn good. So as long as you have a good team built around him, I can get behind it. That's all I got, y'all. Appreciate everyone being here. Big dogs, as you know, look, man, I didn't show y'all. My bad. I've been tucked, pre-tucked. Make sure you keep them damn shirts tucked in. Tap into my video tomorrow. Keep tuned in with us. I'll be doing at least a live stream every week. I will be in New York City once a week moving forward, starting next week. We're going to be doing a live stream of a draft, a BDGE, like, and snapback only, people working there, draft on Thursday, this coming up Thursday at around 11:30 noon. It's gonna be fun, man. So make sure you tapped into that. Make sure you tapped into my video tomorrow, and I'll see you back here for a live stream next week at some point. NFL season's around the corner. Love y'all. Peace.